Zooming back, second try. You guys probably don't know what I mean by that, but actually I've filmed this twice already. It's my second time in a different spot because the last time the wind was so intense you could not hear a word I was saying, so I had to come back out here and do it again. And so we hit 10K. Thank you guys for that. I really do appreciate that, a big amount. I didn't think I'd hit it as quick as I have. You guys have showed incredible amounts of support since I started, and I really do appreciate that. I was planning on actually, this video would have gone up the second I hit 10,000, but I just could not seem to get a video out because for two main reasons. My computer, I use two different editing softwares because one doesn't like clips and it'll freeze my computer, and then the other one has effects I like, and it's just a big mismatch to do stuff. And then, like I said, the clip from the last time I filmed here was so windy you could not hear a word I was saying. So that made it really difficult to put the video together and actually get it out on time. And then on top of that, right as I hit 10K, I ended up getting a fever. Great. And so couldn't film. So I'm back out here afterwards, and I'm a little bit better now, and I can actually film this the correct way with good audio. So hopefully you guys can hear me. So let's get right into this video. So starting off, I'm going to recap kind of the whole process of the channel from start to now. I got a couple notes and little time capsule pieces here that we're going to go through, and I'm just going to like take a little bit of points from each one and kind of explain for those of you who are new to the channel where I kind of came from and how I got to this point with this truck and what it means to me really. And so yeah, so starting off back in, I think it was October 30th, I posted my first start and drive video. It's the first video on my channel with this truck in it. I think it has 11 or 12,000 views now. That video was about a year old. The clips and videos I spliced together, it was me and my cousin Michael. We were sitting in my garage and we were like kind of bored and we couldn't really do anything on our projects, and so we were like, let's go ahead and take all these pictures and videos that we have of our cars and let's splice them together and let's make a YouTube channel, you know. We really wanted to do it, and we didn't really have any sort of good equipment at the time. So we kind of just had the pictures and videos on our iPhones and spliced them all together and put them on YouTube, and they worked pretty well actually, because I had some, and I didn't really know how copyrighted music works, so of course I have a ZZ Top song on there that got shut down pretty quick. Didn't find that out till later, but that's okay. And then that video kind of actually did pretty well. I was pretty surprised with that. It shot up pretty quick. Started out getting like 50 views, then maybe 100. Then it hit 1,000 after like a month, and I was like completely blown away. I was like, wow, people must really like this turd. Seems like you guys do. That's good. And then fast forward a little bit, and I had my Longtube install. So I actually had this for probably a year, driving it around. No, yeah, I had it for a year. I'd only been driving it though for 3 or 4 months. Not many people have actually seen this truck. Way back when, it was smashed up, didn't run, motor was disgusting. Try to get some pictures in for you. And that's kind of like when I was like over with it, because it had a Flowmaster, I believe. It was a 2-inch Flowmaster from the stock manifolds. It was a bone stock 302. It had a 500 CFM Holley 2-barrel on it. That was the only upgrade the entire truck had. And it was a 2-inch dual to a Flowmaster that was about this long and full of rust. So it was super quiet and super restrictive. Sounded terrible, spit dirt and spit and crap everywhere. So it was all contaminated. So we hacked that off, and I got these Longtubes on Craigslist. I found them, they're all rusty, but it specifically said Ford truck 302 headers, and they were for my truck. They weren't just any Ford truck, so I knew that I had to get these because I knew what they ran for. They were Flowtech headers, or I think they're Summit house brand style headers. They were, I think, 150 or change new. These ones are $30. They're completely rotted and rusted. Pretty nasty, but hey, some wire wheel, clean them up, paint them, they'd look nice. But the good thing about this was it actually had the flange and the clamp for the exhaust, and it had a section of straight pipe with it. So it had the pre-bends to go up and over the cross member, so you wouldn't see it, and that made it really easy. So I got that, and my friend Marty actually surprised me. We were working on them at his house because he had the correct air tool to clean them up real good. And he came into my house sometime, and he was like, hey, go over to the back of my truck and get that towel out of the back of my truck. I was like, why? What do you need a towel for? So I lift up the towel, and sure enough, my headers are all brand new and painted and new gaskets, and Man, I'll never forget that. That was awesome. Thanks, Marty. I really do appreciate that if you're watching. So that was it. So we had to put the headers in, and so we got the headers, and it was I made the header install video, and that was kind of a pain in the butt. And because I didn't have an engine hoist at the time, which you're supposed to lift the header, you're supposed to lift the motor up to be able to wedge the headers in there correctly. We didn't have that, so we unbolted the trans off the cross member and jacked it up until the transmission legitimately hit the transmission tunnel in the cab. That was sketchy, and then literally just wedged them in there and beat them with the rubber mallet until they went all the way in. So that's kind of how that worked. And I didn't have an exhaust bill yet, so I didn't have all the proper gaskets to hook up the exhaust yet. And so, yeah, I kind of just drove it to school the next day. The following day, after I got the headers installed, it was Sunday, and we put them on for Monday. And that Monday I went to school, and that was when the open header reaction video was made. That's how that came about. I didn't have the exhaust bay yet, so everyone's like, oh, you shouldn't run open headers and this and that. And I was like, yeah, I know how it works. It's gonna be bad for the motor if I'm just revving the crap out of it with open headers. I actually had to run my truck with the open headers just driving around town for I think a week or so before I actually got all the proper things to build my exhaust. So that was terrible. And so I drove my truck to school with, it was a bone stock motor. I had the upgraded 500 2-barrel CFM Holly on it, and it was Longtube. So everyone's like, oh, I got a meaner. I saw a lot of comments saying that, oh, it wasn't that mean, or my grandpa's Hemi Cuda that's worth $1 million and has a 2,000 horsepower motor would whoop that thing. And it's like, yeah, of course. It's a bone stock 302. I get it. So that video also kind of like, it didn't actually get anywhere until about 6 months after posting it, when I was at work. I worked at a Little Caesars, and I was sitting there, and I had the YouTube notifications on, so I get to see all your guys' comments. So yes, I do read all of your comments, whether you think I do or not. And my phone just started like blowing up for some weird reason, and I'm like checking it constantly, and it's just all YouTube comments on that one video, and I was like, what's going on? And sure enough, it's like 1,000. 5,000. It hit 12,000 after that first week I started getting notifications on it. And then a week after that, it hit 50. And then a week after that, it hit 100. I was like, what? How does a video that's gone like inactive for so long just jump up spontaneously? I was really kind of surprised by that. Because I had 700 subscribers at the time, if that, I think would be a respectable number. Yeah, probably not even that. I think it was 400. And the video started blowing up till it got to 120, 300,000. Now it's all the way at 500,000. So thank you guys a lot for that. If you actually subscribed to me from that video, I really do appreciate it. I hope I can make a new, better one in the future. I had that nasty little goatee and couldn't talk very well in front of a camera, but the video seemed to do all right, so I hope you did enjoy that. So rewind a little bit. You actually probably noticed I do have a couple BMX videos on the channel, and I've actually gotten questions on why you don't make another BMX video. So actually I do ride BMX. It's kind of a hobby of mine. I haven't done it very much lately just for time, and all my money goes into this guy. So that's kind of my hobby, but I haven't posted any videos or made any videos because it's not applicable to the channel. I did post those videos, and if you look at the view counts from car videos to BMX videos, they are substantially different. I get literally like no views off of my BMX content, and then I get literally 40 times as many views on any auto related video. So I just thought it'd be good to just drop it as a whole, and I go ahead and continue on the car stuff, which is where I think I was strongest. So fast forward to right when I was building the exhaust for this, my friend Jonathan, we were all out. I think it was a hot rod like car show thing, and we all went to a Denny's afterwards, and we were all hanging out, and we were checking out pictures of different people's trucks and like sitting at the table, and one of my friends brought up that our friend Jonathan had a truck just like this, and it was a Prerunner, and I was like, oh, no way, rad, because at the time I wanted to build a Prerunner out of this. Not going to happen. But he started showing me pictures of that thing, and so then I was like, dude, I want to talk to him about that, invite him over. So sure enough, at like 10 at night, we invite this guy over. He comes over, hangs out, and he's like, yeah, he's telling me how he rolled it and this and that, and I was like, dude, I'll buy that thing off you. He's like, $200, like $100 or something stupid like that. And I was like, oh, really? No way, yeah. And then so I got in contact with him, and sure enough, it wasn't $100 or $200. But I checked out the truck. There's a whole playlist on that truck. It's my white 69 F250 that I bought off of Jonathan. He rolled it, and thank God he didn't die. I had no seat belts. smashed the cab where his head should have been, so good thing he's alive. But I bought that truck with no motor and no trans. He kept the 390 and C6 that was in it. That was part of the deal. I got the cab and the rest of the truck for $400. That was the deal, hands down. And that truck actually was the scariest project of my life. I had this project, but it was the first vehicle. That was really the first vehicle I'd ever bought on my own. All my cash I worked hard for. That was before I actually had a real job, so that was just kind of saving here and there, recycling cans, this and that. I had $400. Had a little bit more than that, but that was just what I was willing to spend. $400, that's what we came down to. And I bought that shell, I guess you could say, and I started tearing it down. But I brought it to my house, and the reason I was so worried is because that was a vehicle I did not tell my parents about. We agreed on it. He put it on his trailer. He dropped that thing up on my house. And when he took off, my mom came out screaming at me, but it was all good because I made $1,500 on that truck. I got the odometer gauges out of that truck in this one now. That's how I got those. So, as you might notice in my descriptions of every single video, I do post a link to this miscellaneous Michael, and it's his channel. I post a link to my cousin Michael's channel because he's one of my best friends. He's my cousin. I've been doing car stuff with him ever since we were in diapers pushing Hot Wheels around, and he's the guy that I really feel comfortable collabing with on YouTube. He's the first person that I really collabed with on YouTube. We both started our channel at the same time. He actually has his 1969 sports roof Mustang, which is a fastback if you do not know. He is building it from the ground. When he bought it, he actually picked the body of the car up and set it on a trailer. That's how torn down it was. It was already stripped apart, so he had the terrible job of finding out how to put it all back together when he wasn't the one to take it apart. It's got a 302 in it with a C4 and I think an 8 and something rear end in it. He's doing a bunch of body work, cutting panels out, welding, a lot of cool stuff like that. So you can check his channel out in the description. I leave a link to his channel. He leaves a link to mine. Be sure to check that out. Give him some love. He really does deserve it. He is actually up in Northern California at a farm right now. He's been working there for about a month. He will be back within the next week, so we can finally do another video together. That is why he's been inactive, just in case some of you subscribers are from both of our channels and curious on why he doesn't post anything. That's why. He's up there working real hard, doing 10-hour shifts up there every single day, and he is 16 years old. So good job, Michael. Proud of you, bud. So a lot of my videos I actually do for self-documentation purposes, and I don't always do for entertainment. The main video that I pointed that out on was I put an Offenhauser 360 manifold on this, which is a really rare hot rod brand, I believe from the 60s, 70s era. And I got that manifold and I wanted to put it on, but I'd never put an intake manifold on before. And so I wasn't really entirely sure what I was doing, but I wanted to do it and I wanted to document the process so I could simply, like I stated at the beginning of that video on the text, so I could document a change. That's actually probably one of the biggest reasons I started YouTube in the first place. It wasn't for the money. I had a lot of fun doing it and I wanted to document the changes with this truck. This truck will eventually be a slammed, caged, built, naturally aspirated, probably 600 horsepower, way down the line with some fat meats, and it's going to be doing Optima, like hot rod power tour and a bunch of really cool road racing events. It's going to be a road racing truck. So in a lot of my videos, I'm not the greatest mechanic. For those of you asking, I do get a million questions a day on where do I learn my skill sets. I'm self-taught. My dad he's a director for a production company that makes telecommunication devices like cell towers and stuff. He works on a computer all day, and my mom is my mom. So I don't really have that fatherly like mechanic, but he did teach me a bunch of stuff when we were just getting this thing running, which I really do appreciate. That was awesome just to have that, because I didn't know how to like change a water pump or anything like that. He did know how to do that kind of stuff. But in terms of stuff like the headers, distributor I've put in, intake manifold, every single other motor upgrade, exhaust, I built my whole exhaust myself. Everything along those lines, I'm self-taught. And for those of you wondering how I managed to pull it off, I guess, if you don't know anything and you tear something apart, you kind of are forced to put it back together, especially when you daily drive this, and it was part of the school season. So I'd torn apart, like I'd ripped apart my carburetor on a Thursday and I'd drive it to school on Friday, so I kind of screwed myself. And my mom would always yell at me like, why don't you start this on the weekend? And I was like, because I was impatient, and I did it, so whatever. So I kind of would just like look on YouTube, and I'd look on Google, and I'd go on forums, and I'd just learn how everyone else did it, and I'd learn what not to do, and then I'd just trial and error, you know? I mean, I'm sure there's a billion pounds of RTV on that intake manifold that probably shouldn't be there, and I will redo it again. But you kind of just learn as you go. So there's nothing wrong with doing something wrong first time, so you learn something. So remember that when you go to do something you're not really sure about, just do a lot of research, and it never hurts to try. So plans for this truck. That's a big part of this video. A lot of you want to know what I'm doing with this truck. A lot of you want to know where it's going, what's happening to it, what is going to happen from here to the next milestone. This truck actually, like I've kind of stated and hinted at before, I want to lower this thing. I want to get this thing on the ground. I want it to have posi. I want it to have fatter tires. It's got these little pizza cutter 260, 245s, I think, or something like that. And I really want to get this thing like street worthy. I want to make it look like a beast, you know, on the floor with this matted like road racing style tires, pro touring build really. So I've got a Crown Victoria front end and a Ford Explorer rear end. It's an 8.8 rear end with a 373 posi in it. For those of you who don't know, that is the go-to swap with these F100s. The Crown Victoria front clip literally slides directly over the frame rails on the front of this truck, and you can lower the truck very easily if you do know how to fabricate and measure properly. It does require taking the entire front clip out, motor out, cutting the cross member out, so you literally have two frame rails sticking out of the front of the cab. And then in terms of the rear end, you have to cut the leaf spring perches off of the old axle you're using, weld in new ones in the correct position for the correct pinion angle, weld everything together. Then you should be decently good, I guess. And it's just a lot of fab work. That's the real big thing with it. So a lot of you are probably asking, why haven't I done it yet? It has nothing really to do with money. It's more of the fact that I cannot find someone that I trusted that would give me a decent enough deal, because I am an 18-year-old self-funding this project. As I did state, I worked at a Little Caesars. I did quit that job because I was tired of being cramped up in the back of this little place when I like being outside and working on stuff with my hands. And I wasn't getting paid very much, so I was like, you know what, screw it. And so I ended up making more money off of YouTube, which is now YouTube is starting to fund this. I don't make a lot, so now my main source of income is YouTube, which I only make a small amount each month, and it takes a long time for me actually to receive the money. It'll actually take me like 2 or 3 months after to actually like get my hands on whatever amount of money I make, and then it goes straight into this. So I really do want to start building more content more frequently. I actually just, because I was so sick and tired of the whole computer issue, I actually just finally said whatever, and I finally bought a new computer. Should be here within the next week, and you will immediately notice when I get the new computer, because uploads will be better quality, better edited, more frequent, all the goodies. It'll be awesome. And then, oh, that's what I forgot to mention. I'm also putting a 5-speed on the floor in this. And that brings me back to another question that a lot of you ask. Why are you shifting in automatic? It's not an automatic. For those of you who don't know, this is a 3 on the column, which I will do a video on how to drive it and what the gears are like. But basically, it's an H pattern on the column. You're using a clutch and you're shifting from first to second to third. It's kind of how it works. So I've gotten a lot of questions like, stop trying to be a cool guy shifting in automatic. It's like, it's not an automatic. You can't clutch kick an automatic, bud. But that's, yeah, I'm kind of over it because I would jam gears with it. It's really slow. If you've watched my drag racing video, you've seen it rev really high in first gear, down in second gear, all the way up to second gear, and then boom, it dies in third gear and falls on its face. So the gear ratio is garbage. So I want to put a 5-speed in this thing, a Tremec 5-speed. That's what I want to get next, and I want to mate that with the motor that's in this now. Hopefully I can soup up the motor a little bit. I want to get some aluminum ported heads and a cam, and that will make this thing solid with the Crown Vic and 373 posi and some absolutely badass tires that I got from my friend Will. They're 275s, no, 285s. They're meats. And they're 17, so all 17-inch rims with 285s on this thing, and it'll be lowered a little bit. It'll look awesome. So plans for the F250, that is my green 75 dent side F250 that you've seen a lot of episodes, I guess. I kind of just made them into episodes. That is a project that I bought to sell. I'm not emotionally attached to that truck at all. It's a long bed. I'm not a long bed guy, sorry. That truck is, I was actually planning on not owning it now. Like, I should have only owned that truck for 2 or 3 weeks. It's been a little bit over a month, and I still own it. So the plan with that is I just got to button up a few more things, got to get a muffler on it, and I should be able to sell it. So if you do want to purchase that truck and you are in Southern California, you are interested in my dent side, It has absolutely no rust in the entire truck. There are pretty much no issues with it. I think there may be a rear main seal leak. That might be the only possibility. Could be oil pan. I gotta look into it a little bit more, but there is a pretty, it's not minor, but it's not major. It's got an oil leak. It's not crazy. Leaks a little bit every night, but it does have an oil leak. That's the only issue with the entire truck. Cab has absolutely no floor rust or roof rust. If you have watched the videos, you can see everything about the truck. I'm not gonna talk about it here. There's a lot of videos on it, you can watch them there. But that truck will be getting sold. The asking price for that truck, if you are curious, is $4 grand. I only want $4,000 for that truck. Is a rust-free driving truck, ready to rock. It's perfect. So that's kind of where we're headed for the next little bit. I hope that wasn't too kind of all over the place. I'm kind of like stopping and going, and cars are going by and airplanes are going by, and losing my train of thought. So yeah, let's get right on into the fun part of this video. Thanks for 10,000 guys. I really appreciate it big time. Let's go. So thank you guys again for 10,000. Let's shoot for the next goal. Thank you again for Will for filming for me. I'll put a link to his Instagram. He's got a bunch of cool stuff. That's his pretty cool Chevy Silverado. Hopefully he'll be in future videos a little bit more. We'll do some cool stuff. Thanks again. My hands are shaking because I'm still nervous. Have a good day. See ya. Yeah.